Yes, so we'll try to start on time. I will just mute the conversation. I guess you can write to me in private mode. So now it is private, and I think you cannot write anything, but I want to do that. Oh, I'll open up for questions during the webinar. Then you can ask the questions that you have. Let's do it now. That's fine. So if you have any questions, ask them in the chat. Then I'll try to answer them when it fits into the program. And I hope everybody can see. If there's any problems, there's the reconnect button at the top. You can use that one to refresh the page and view all the things that's happening. So let's get started. If I can find the. So my name is Daniel Graversen. I've been doing SAP integration for 13 years, I think. Something like that, and worked a lot longer with integration and development. I've done a lot of work with Seeburger. I think that was on some of my first projects, and figuring out how do we use the Seeburger to deal with our setup. At that point in time was pretty new in the PI world. Yes. The thing I wanted to share a little about today is what to replace the Seeburger with. Well, I guess first what the Seeburger is, how to replace it, then some of the challenges that you would encounter when doing a migration, and then we'll talk a little about how you can automate the migration, because I think that's one of the key things to doing a migration, because there's a lot of things that need to be a little easier to understand. So migrating from Seeburger is the first thing. We just want to figure out where we are at the moment. So Seeburger BIC, and with this I mean the solution that SAP and Seeburger have built together to make it possible for customers to do EDI to XML conversion and do all the different transactions regarding an EDI setup that you need. So I think the main part of this is the EDI mapper, but there's also quite a lot of other functionalities in this one. So there's a lot of user-defined functions. There's the monitoring functionality, and I guess I forgot here a lot of modules. So I think the Seeburger is delivered with, I don't know, 10 different modules that does some different things, and some of them are pretty cool what they can do compared to what you have in the SAP system. So they provided a lot of value when they were created to enable this B2B conversation. The Seeburger Integration Bus is, or whatever it is, the Seeburger has a full suite that's, I guess, comparable to the PI system that has a lot of EDIFACT mappings, system-to-system integration. This is not what I'm talking about. If you'd want to do a migration from that to PI, I guess it is a completely new project and different setup, because it's two different ways of looking at the system. So mostly I'm just looking at a one-to-one mapping in the BIC tool. So you have the XML, you're converting using a one-to-one mapping to the BIC, and that is, I think, so it's seldom that I've been into the BIC tool doing some small changes to it, but I have done it with a few mappings once or twice. There are two tools that, at least in the SAP world, will be able to replace this. So there's the B2B add-on from SAP PI PO. It's a native PI application was built from scratch to really fit in with how PI worked and the tools and functionalities from it. It contains a lot of web applications to manage everything. It is included in your process orchestration license. So if you have the PI license, this is not it, but the process orchestration license covers this. This is I guess the core-based license that you need to upgrade to. So I guess if you're coming from the old world, it's two different concepts for licensing, which is a bit strange. But yeah, it contains this functionality, and it contains an AS2 SFTP and I guess an X400 adapter. Some of those adapters that was in the Seeburger solution. I think the biggest difference is there's a trading partner management system that allow you to define all your trading partners, all identifications of these partners, and ensure that you can monitor who they are and deal with those and set up specific configuration for each partner in this tool. Then in Seeburger, I think you had to buy these different licenses. So if you want to get a new EDISeperator 95B license that was not a part of one of the packages that you had bought, you had to buy a new one or buy this extra license to get it. With the PO license, you get all of that content for free, as I understand it. You just download the content, import it, and then you can start using it. There's the plain text converter also. I guess this is a little more fun to use. And then there's the number range object. I think those are the different components involved in this. There may also be some modules that you can use for this content. One of the new capabilities is obviously cloud integration, which I guess is where SAP want to put a lot of focus in. So they are moving a lot of the B2B capabilities to the cloud platform. So it is like a new platform. You want to figure out how it works. It contains at least the AS2 adapter. I'm not sure. I would imagine that you would also find the SFTP adapter. Then you got some EDI conversion. Though it seems like if you want to get X12 and X12 or some of the other formats, you may need a new license for purchasing those to get those schemas correctly. Then I think one of the cool things that it's adding is the integration content advisor. That's a tool that allows you to do the B2B mappings a lot faster. At least when you're starting out from scratch and want to do new mappings with a partner, you can use this tool to specify, collaborate with the partner, and make sure everything works smoothly. All of these, this B2B functionality contains or requires the enterprise version of the integration bus. And I'm not sure really where it is and what you can and what you cannot do in this, and if the schemas are the same as in the B2B or it's different. But I do hope they have created a reuse to the same schema, so people can migrate mappings from PO to this one, though not from the Seeburger. Then we'll cover some of the challenges that you have in a migration, and I guess one of the biggest one is the business case. And correct me if I'm wrong. Then I don't know how to make a business case for this. So obviously you can use the trading partner management to organize your partners. That functionality is pretty cool. I guess the biggest one is you stop to pay maintenance to Seeburger. And you can move to a single stack system, and maybe the simplicity of the stack is worthy of a business case. But if you have any other ideas for how to make a business case, please put them into the comments. I'd like to hear your take on this. But I think this is one of the challenging things, because, well, you need to do it at some point in time, but when is the right time? And obviously, the more you're maintaining the Seeburger tool you have, the more you have to migrate at a point where you need to migrate. So one of the big things that is changed is the message structure, and this seems to be changed quite a lot. So before, it was using the let me just get a mouse here. So this is the Seeburger structure, and this is the B2B structure. So the same document, the root element on this is list, and the root element on this one is DCDV 96A. So you get some more information in the root node, and then there's different locations for some of the different fields that you're getting. You would get, for instance, if you drill all the way down to this qualifier down here, in the Seeburger it doesn't have _1, and in the B2B it has _1. So you need to go through, and I guess so there's some differences in the schema, so you cannot just reuse the same schemas across all platforms. And then that brings me to the part about conversion. So I have heard some people that have created an XSLT that does this configuration or mapping between the different formats. So it will take the input data. So for instance, if you have an EDIFact document that you're sending out, you would map it to the Seeburger structure, and then you'll create an XSLT that will map it to the B2B structure and put that one into the same operation mapping. So once the message reaches the Seeburger or the B2B converter, it will be converted correctly. You obviously need to create these artifacts and ensure they are correct. One of the things that I'm a bit concerned about is the performance of this. Some of these EDIFact documents can be rather big, and if so if it's executing a lot of time, it will cost some resources, and since you are licensed per CPU resources, this could cost some more in regards to getting more cores in your CPU subcore. Then one thing I'm not really sure about is what Seeburger, if they're licensing the schemas or just the EDI converter, and how you need to pay license if you're not going from that one. The other one is you can use the built-in tool in the PI system to remap the schema. So it will say, okay, I got this element, I got this there we got it, this element. What should be mapped? How should we map this? And we can see here SSG1, and in the new one it's just called SG1. And then you need to select this one and go through all the different elements it has, do all the new mappings that are different. So this is something that takes some time. You just need to be sure that you're updating the correct values all the way through the document. Or you can use an automated tool that will automate this process and just say, hey, the old schema was this, the new schema is this, and then do an automated conversion. And we'll show that later. Then some of the other things is Seeburger provided some user-defined functions. That was the counter objects that you could call, and there is then for that, you'd use the number range objects. And there is a blog that describes how you can use this the number range object in a UDF, because I was thinking a standard, the number range object is using, you're just inserting a parameter into the XML document, adding a module that will then do the conversion of it. If you want to do the numbering of EDI numbers, then you, in the UDF, you can add it there. Otherwise, I guess you will just add, update the UDF to just add the B2B functionality into it. Then we got variables. That was also pretty useful in the B2B world. Now they are replaced by the trading partner management, so you can create specific variables for each partner. And then you got the tracking tool that you wanted to update. So whenever you receive the message, you wanted to record, we received this message from this partner with this information. And well, that's not really as powerful as the old one was. Then we did have, I guess you can update some of these functionalities, the UDFs, with and replace them with the existing functionality or the new functionality. So the message mappings would have the same interface, but the backend functionality of them would be different. And again, I don't know quite what Seeburger is licensing, if they also, if you are using their number range objects or number counter, if it will be licensed and how that works out. Another difference is the EDI splitter. I think it was called 997 separator or something like that, splitter. That would take the inbound document and send them to the correct recipient. This is a little differently in the new B2B add-on. Here you're using the EDISeperator, and it works a little differently. It has more capabilities of finding the right message and splitting it correctly. So I do like it a lot more. It gives users a lot more flexibility in what they have to do, and you don't have to code as much internally as you do in the other ones. And then it's also able to handle XML, which you could do in the old one, but I guess it required some configuration and development. I know a lot of you probably have been using the Seeburger monitoring to keep track of what documents you have sent, what are the statuses that you're getting back of these, and giving access to business. And obviously the new tool is not as powerful. You can search obviously for partner names and identifiers in the document and numbers. And you can see what are the acknowledgements on these, but I don't think you can drill down and see, okay, I sent this order in, when did I get the invoice into this one? So I guess there's some challenges regarding this, what you can deal with in that perspective. I guess some people would just say, okay, we will archive all EDI documents in a SharePoint folder, and then you can do a text search in that one if you wanted to need any documents. All EDI. Then another point that we have is the adapters. Well, the Seeburger adapters obviously need to replace, because I think those are definitely a part of the license, and the new ones add some more capabilities and functionality. At least the AS2 does, and I'm sure some of the other ones also, giving users more flexibility in the things they want to do. Yeah, and when you're implementing this, you obviously need to account for these changes and figure out which of them are possible and how do they work. Then one other thing we have is testing. Obviously, is quite important because you want to do the migration as simple as possible. Well, and I think you would have a hard time convincing your partners to test some of these documents with you because you're doing an internal upgrade of some of your system. Obviously, you could probably do that for some partners, but I think majority of your partners would say, hey, well, we don't want to do that testing. You have to just ensure that your document doesn't change. So you want to set up a good way of testing these things to ensure nothing is changed. And one of the tools that we have created, the FIGAF ERT Integration Regression tool, is a tool that allows you to upload a set of messages and then compare them and validate that they are as they're supposed to be. And you can do EDI comparison X12 and just see, okay, we're sending this document now. Oh, for instance, we're sending this IDOC XML. In the new one, we will also send the IDOC XML, and then we expect the EDI message to look identical. So we'll try to show that a little later. And then obviously you'll probably learned a lot over the period of time you have been using your EDI solution. So you could consider, if we want to redesign the EDI solution, to just have one or a simpler set of mappings, if that would be beneficial. That way it will be a little easier to make some changes and have a flexible platform. I'm not sure on how to do that. Obviously testing is important here, and starting out from scratch, and you probably want to do like an ancestral hierarchy of all your B2B mappings and figure out, so how did we create these and how do they all relate and what's the difference between them. So I guess that would be a pretty big analysis work to figure out this information, but if you're able to do it, you probably have a more streamlined version of your EDI set up and be able to do some more in it. But I guess it comes at a cost, and you have some lot more requirement for testing. Then, as I talked about, there was an automated tool that you could use to do this conversion between the different formats that you have. This is the FIGAF Seeburger Migration tool, and this is an automated tool that just takes. It's a tool you install on your local PC, and then you connect it to your PI system. Then it's able to do a conversion of this the Seeburger data structure to the B2B code, and you can upload this. So this will obviously save some time because you don't have to go through and do the manual mapping of all of these steps. You can do it with just the click of a few buttons. Then all these have been updated, and you don't have to do as many tests because you know it is updating correctly. Obviously, you still need to do testing because there's a lot of components, and you want to ensure it. But once you have tested that the functionality works with the variety of your messages, it should be fairly simple to test it. And it works at least in EDIFACT X12 e-income we've tested with. And if the other ones that's also supported, then it shouldn't be difficult also adding support for those. E-income is actually just using the EDIFACT document format. So the steps for this is you would, so in the B2B system, you would go into the tool that allow you to create. Let me just show you that. So you go to B2B IC, which is the integration cockpit. Here you got the content manager, then you go to defact. You would then XSD generator, and then you can generate the different XSD, download them, and then you upload them into the system. To the PI system, you'd select the mapping you want to update. What are the new target schema of this mapping? It will run the update. You would then upload it to, or the system would then upload the new mapping schema. And once it's uploaded, you can you just log in and save it, and this will activate the code of this. So I was just trying to do a demo of it, and some reason my PI system is not responding as I expected to. So I will be showing it on this video, and it is paused. So it just shows you how you can get started. You go into a figaf.com page, download the tool, and then it's just a jar file that you start with your username and password for the PI system. Then you request a license for it, and then once you install the license, we will start a conversion. So right here you can see we got a X12 mapping, ENCOM mapping with Seeburger format. And what would then happen is we will go into the tool, and here we would select, guess it's going through the different steps again. Start the tool up again. It will choose what software component we're looking at, which document we were wanting to convert. So this is, we have selected the model, and then we are selecting the new target schema. We'll press fetch and upload. This will download the method, all the metadata of the mapping, and once you press push, it will be sent up to a new change list that this user has created. And if we then close it, fetch our change list, and yeah, so I've logged on with a different user, and I think that's probably a wrong ID. So you probably want to just log on with your own user, because then the change list will be in your own name. So now we're opening it again, and we can see that everything has been remapped. It's now using the new schema, and the elements here have been mapped correctly. So this is, and then the only thing you need to do is just press save, because when we're doing our code, we are not compiling all the Java code again, and this would the save button do. So that was how this tool works. Any questions on this, then put them into the chat. I should be able to see it. Oh, sorry. Yes, so this will definitely make some of the steps a lot easier to do migration on. And then I guess the other part is testing. That can be a bit challenging, because yeah, you want to have a good set of test data, and you want to be able to run the test optimally, to ensure that everything works out smoothly. That's, I guess, our intention by using the figaf ERT tool. This is a testing tool. So what you're able to do is you can get a source and target message. You can either download them automatically, or you can do it by uploading uploading data to it. So let me just show you this, and then you can run tests on it. So here we got a list of all the different objects on the PI system. We can then select. So it's in a component. So if we just select this one, we can upload test case here, and here we can build an XML that represent, or a JSON file that represent our scenario. So if we migrate from something else to the B2B add-on, this would be what we could do. If we actually have an ICO, it is a lot easier, because we would then just say, hey, we got this one. We would record messages. We would then create a test template where we can group all of these messages together. So you can have a Seeburger Migration setting where you have all the different ones that makes sense. And we can see some of the information. We can save partner expression. This is really crucial for the fact. This is the FIGAF ERT tool. So in the partner expression, you would put in an XPath that correspond to your partner information. So at least you're able to see what are the different information here. Or you may even use the message expression. If you know you got 5 different functionalities, then this, or 5 different message mapping, and you know how to separate them, then this XPath would be a way to separate them. That way you can easily see how many messages you get in each category. So we'll just press save here. This will then create our test case, or list of tests to create. We say click and get started. This will then add in the module chain of this system. It will add modules in the beginning of and end of the processing chain, and then it will get a message that it needs to record the next 5 messages, or 3 messages, I think is selected here. So next 3 messages that are processed will be saved in the beginning and the end of this processing chain. So let's see if we got that. So we got 3 messages now. So now we can actually start doing a testing. So we will create a test case based on this data. This is good. Create test case. And we can then run this. And it'll take a little while. It needs to, it will schedule these things and run it so it'll take like a minute to run. And we see we now have it unfinished. We can go into the test object here. Let me think this is okay. We obviously want to have some errors in this. So we have this one we just created. So we want to see the results here. Oh, it's still view results. So now we can see that they're compared with an error. We can view our differences here, and we know that this state is valid, that there's a difference here. So we can just say add, and the next time we run this test case, we would be able to ignore this specific test case. So this is the FIGAF ERT testing tool. You can find on the FIGAF homepage also. And I think this is really helpful in EDI or in migration purposes, because you want to make sure that you're testing enough and you just have one click. You can run tests of all your different scenarios and ensure everything works as it's supposed to be. Any questions on these 2 tools? then I'll just continue. You can still ask questions if you have any. So obviously, I guess maybe the next one is pricing. So how is this priced? So the Seeburger migration tool, I'm taking 100 euros per mapping that you're doing, and for the FACX12 e-income. And if there's some other ones, we may be able to support them. Let's see. And we also, well, if someone wants a bigger version of it, we also want to create a version where you're actually just saying, okay, this was my old Seeburger message, and this is the new B2B message. It will update all relevant object interface operation mappings, and then you would be able to maybe update the directory information and ensure everything works smoothly. Let's see. So if someone thinks this is worthy, let's have a chat on that. And then there's the ERT testing tool. There's a free version that covers 10 different ICOs. We got a pro version for 30,000 that also do EDI comparison. So if you're doing a migration project, this would be quite helpful to get. And I think these two tools works really well together. So if you purchase a minimum of 100 mappings with the Seeburger migration tool, you would also get those 100 mappings as a pro version of the ERT tool, so you can test these mappings that you have created to ensure that works with at least 10 test cases for each. So you're getting more secure about the migration, because I guess that's the main purpose of this, ensuring that the migration works as expected. To try as a Seeburger migration tool, go to fgaf.com/SMT. Then you can sign up, download the tool, request licenses, so that you can see the same video there that guides you through these different steps. Send a license request to support a license. Then once you get the license response, you will upload it, and then you can compare and see how it works. So our UI of this is not really, we'll probably need to do an update of it, but it works. You need to do press refresh a couple of times to get everything working there. So we got time for Q&A. If there's any questions, do let me know in the chat. I'll see if I can open it. Do you have any questions? Do put them into the chat. Otherwise, thank you for participating.